Hello guys, Chris here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing a GeForce GT710 2GB DDR3 version of the card in Dying Light 1. This one is the Asus silent version of the card. We're running it with the latest Nvidia drivers available to it, and I am actually overclocking it a little bit, as you can see in MSI Afterburner. Over in Tech Power-Ups GPUZ, you can see all of the GPU specs. It's a Kepler GT710, by the way, released in 2014 with 192 CUDA cores and 2 gigs of DDR3, as I told you. Finally, on the left, we're pairing it with the i7-4770K at 4.1 GHz and 16 GB of DDR3, 1600 MHz in dual channel. Let's get into it. It's super laggy already, even here, guys. Oh my. Okay. And it's not looking good, guys. It's getting 13 FPS here. Okay, I was kind of not expecting this because this is an older title, but at the same time, since it's released back in 2015, well, it's too much for a GT710. Even games from like 2012 are too much. So we're starting this at 1080p resolution. I don't know if you can tell there because it's grayed out because we're already inside of the game, and we're using the minimum settings, and texture quality is set to medium as well because, well, that's actually the lowest setting for texture quality in this game. Let me turn these off right here. Right, and getting out of the menu, things didn't improve whatsoever. It is exactly the same. 13 frames per second. Oh boy. I was expecting a little bit better, guys, because, you know, it's Dying Light 1. It's nothing special in terms of demandingness, you could say. You know, it's not really that intensive these days, but again, it is a GT710 after all, so we cannot expect great things. Still, it played with around like 30 to 40 frames per second on a GTX 560, which is the minimum required GPU for this game, and it's a 2011 card. It released 3 years prior of the GT710. Oh, damn it. Okay, I don't know if I can do this, guys. Now, if you got this game for free while it was free on Epic Game Store and you have a GT710, well, I don't recommend you to install it, unfortunately. I thought it was gonna be a very different story here today, but nope. It turns out it's gonna be a very small video, I guess. At least the VRAM is enough, so there's that. Oh, damn it. And it doesn't stutter like new games either, you know, so that's a very good thing to see. At least you're getting 12, 13 FPS, but those are smooth 12 to 13 FPS. You know what? If we enable some motion blur, we might actually be able to achieve slightly better smoothness out of this. So here we go. I'm gonna turn that on. Okay, usually I don't do this. I don't like motion blur, but alright. Oh my goodness, the motion blur in this game looks well, of course it looks terrible. We're at 10 FPS, but it's kind of weird. It has a little bit of a ghosting effect. Maybe that's just motion blur in general. Yeah, alright. But there are different versions of motion blur, you know, object motion blur and stuff like that. I think object motion blur is the good motion blur. This is everything motion blur. I don't like it. I really don't like it. And it doesn't feel smoother whatsoever. In fact, we lost about 20% of our performance now that we enabled motion blur. So, keep it off, okay? Now, instead of having a super horrible low FPS experience, we have a super horrible low FPS experience with less FPS and worse graphics, basically. Alright guys, now we're playing at 720p resolution using the same lowest settings. I disabled motion blur as well. And now we're getting 22 frames per second. Close to cinematic results, so that's much better than what we saw at 1080p for sure. I mean, it's 10 more FPS, so I'm not gonna complain too much about this. And it's still smooth, okay? It's still smooth 20-something FPS because it's not stuttering whatsoever, so that's awesome. And also, guys, if you are wondering how this GPU runs Dying Light 2, which is much more intensive and a newer title released in 2022, I have a video playing it with this same GPU. I'll leave a link down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment. I recommend you to check it out if you want a headache. We played at like 7p resolution. Yeah, you could count the pixels on screen basically. So that was fun. Anyways, this is actually decent-ish compared to what we've seen here today, my friends. I mean, now I'm able to parkour around a little bit and even kill some zombies. Look at this. Weapon ineffective. No, 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 no! What? I don't want it to be ineffective. Hold hard to repair. Hold R to repair. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, my God. What the hell? The slowdown there. Okay. Alright, so it still drops from 20 frames per second, as you can see, into the teens, 17 at times, 16.1% lows. That's just awful, honestly. I thought at this point, playing at 720p resolution, it would actually achieve at least 30 on average, but nope. Of course, it's a GT 710 and it has to disappoint every single time. You know, at this point we would even appreciate a GT 1030, honestly. Yeah, bring back the 1030, please. This is awful. You know what? Maybe we should actually test it with the GT 1030 now. Because I don't think you can lower the resolution much further than this. So the minimum resolution, yeah, it's 1024 by 768. What if we put it in windowed mode? Okay, this is windowed mode and it's still crap. Alright, so this is the lowest resolution using the lowest settings in the game now with the GT 710. Well, at least we got like 3 more frames per second, I guess. And now it's much closer to the cinematic frame rate, guys. By the way, the cinematic frame rate is 24 frames per second. That's how movies run, basically, most of them. I know The Hobbit, for example, as well as the new Avatar, those run at 40 frames per second. It's much smoother. You appreciate the landscapes and stuff like that, the animations, much better in those games than those movies. Than in other movies at 24. Like, sometimes I go to the theaters, to the cinema, you know, and watch a movie that's 24 frames per second and they're just panning around sometimes, and I'm like, what the hell? I can't see anything but motion blur. You know, like the low frame rate is insane sometimes in movies. It is what it is. This is the best that the GPU can do. Of course, the 2GB DDR3 version. If you have the GDDR5 version of the card, it's much faster and it should be capable of achieving 30 plus at these settings. But yeah, not this one. Alright, guys, so let's stop it there. This is unplayable. I guess we should try it with the 1030. Okay, let's actually have a bit of playable gameplay in this video. Here we go, my friends. GT 1030 is now installed. This is the 2GB GDDR5 version of the card, as you can see in Tech Power-Up's GPU Z, and it should be a heck of a lot better. We're still pairing it with the i7-4770K and 16GB of RAM, of course, exactly the same specs. Let's go over the settings now, playing at 1080p resolution and still using the lowest settings, alright, because the game is actually pretty intensive on these low GPUs, apparently. And it is finally playable. It is well above 30 frames per second now. It might actually drop into the 30s from time to time, by the way, because I've been told by many people that some effects are very, very intensive. As you can see, like the fire effects did drop our FPS by a little bit there. The vegetation is also super intensive, and during the night, sometimes it can have some massive drops. So there's that. Be aware, it's probably not going to be a super buttery smooth experience all of the time, but at least it shouldn't stutter, and most of the time it will be great with the GT 1030. As you can see, we can finally enjoy ourselves here. Oh my god, those shadows, dude. Oh, that looks terrible. Anyway, oh my god, what the? Okay, all right, get the heck out of here. What? I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, anyways, that scared the heck out of me, dude. Alright, now it's dropping into the 40s in this area. Ooh, lower 40s at times. I saw 43 for a second. Still, it is not a bad experience with the GT 1030, and it's native 1080p as well, so that's great for a little GPU like this, I guess. But the thing is, the 1030 released back in 2017, and this game released back in 2015, and the 1030 can't even achieve 60 FPS. But then again, it's a GT card, not really meant for gaming. So the fact that it plays Dying Light 1 with pretty decent graphics still, I would say. Look at, like, the textures are on medium, which is the lowest setting, and it still doesn't look bad whatsoever. Is actually decent, right? This is not too bad. Got a lot of vegetation around here, yeah, okay. 40s, lower 40s, again. It's not fluctuating too much. I thought it would get lower FPS near vegetation, given how the GT 1030 usually does in games, you know? Yeah. Alright, you can rest assured that this is gonna be a smooth and decent experience with this card. Maybe with a slight overclock it might even reach like 60 FPS sometimes, or more often, you know? Because you can see that it actually does get 60 frames per second from time to time, but it doesn't happen very often. But you know what, guys? Even though the GT 1030 is nothing special, I am happy to see this. It is playable, it's a good game from what I heard. I didn't really play it through completely, but I played a little bit of it back in the days, and I really enjoyed it. So it's good to know that if you got this game for free, even if you have something like a GT 1030 and a 10-year-old i7 CPU, or even the i5 will perform basically the same as this, by the way, in this game, you can enjoy it. So that's been it. Thank you very much for watching this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.